questions from the public. And the first one is from Robin of Sherwood. The question was from Robin: what is the neighbourhood policing team and Nottinghamshire Police doing to reduce the numbers of children and young people being criminalised because of poor policing and charging decisions?
As a force, and certainly my approach in leading the force is very much that we want to make sure that we, where appropriate, we do divert young people away from the criminal justice system, albeit there's always going to be a balance as to what the most appropriate method is, and we need to be mindful of that. So when we look at our figures of young people going into the criminal justice system, it is high, and it's something that we need to look at and to try and understand. So in terms of understanding that, when we look at the number, over half of the number of people that go in are for offences which relate to violence against the person.
Yeah.
And of that, half of those are actually knife possession offences. So what I'm trying to say is knife possession takes up quite a lot of those numbers. And some of those involve young people possessing knives on school premises as well, which is really, really concerning. So in terms of the weapon offences, we have had a previous approach to these, which was to sort of coin a term that I know perhaps has been used before, around zero tolerance. So young people in possession of knives were put straight into the criminal justice system. That was the previous approach. What I've done since I've taken over is I've reviewed that, and I think we perhaps need to look at what the national guidance is, and we've actually amended our approach now. So it's not that sort of one-size-fits-all. We're trying to then make it a little bit more bespoke and more focused on if there are opportunities to divert young people, then we will do this. So we've changed our approach, but I think it's worth saying that still, if you are a young person caught with a knife under the age of 15, you will, more than likely you will be getting a youth conditional caution. Yeah. That gives us an opportunity to do some diversionary work with you, but that reflects the seriousness of these offences as well, and the problem that it blights on the communities, and we know that lots of people are fearful of knife crime. So, in addition to that, we also need to do some work around prevention, and we do a lot of work with young people that you know about through the Violence Reduction Partnership that you commission a lot of work. So this isn't just about our criminal justice approach. There are other complementary approaches that we use in. Yeah. But any young people that are arrested with a knife, they will go in front of the multi-agency panel, which will involve other partners as well. So this isn't just about the police approaching this. We will use with Youth Justice Service, probation, CPS, and the council support, children and young services support there. So we then enable us to have that more joined up approach to actually how are we going to address this issue and what will our approach be with all these individuals. And we look at trauma-informed approach and also ACEs when we do that, so adverse childhood experiences. So we're trying to have that holistic view to do that. So at the moment, that's still relatively new. That started in October, so it will take us some while to see some of the reasons for that. But I think what we just need to also consider is when we look at the panel and the sort of factors that they're considering, there'll be things like the level of injury. If it is an assault, it'll be the voice of the victim. Also, if there's no full admission, then a community resolution is not possible. Yeah. So it's we do need to understand some of the factors that take part in making these decisions. But I think really, in summary, what I wanted to get across was we are keen to try and make sure that children and young people don't need to go into the criminal justice system. They won't. We are doing other work to try and, in terms of diversion. I know Sue's already spoke about some of the outreach. All those other things will complement this. And we have changed our approach now, albeit only recently, that we'll probably see some results. But the reality is there are still occasions when it is appropriate for people to go through the criminal justice system. Yeah,
and I'm really keen that children and young people don't make the decision to get themselves carrying a knife or doing something they should be doing in the first place, which is why that preventative work is so important. Got another question from Mimi from Eastwood. Are there any educational or rehabilitative interventions in place in response to antisocial behaviour, much like we have for speeding, like online courses?
As you know, Commissioner, there's and in answer to the member of the public's question, is that there's 12 school and early intervention officers that we've got embedded into local academies, and we really do focus hard through those SEIO officers to provide educational inputs to divert young people away from ASB and crime. So that has been a core part of their role. We realise that actually they absorb a huge number of pupils through that programme, and those educational inputs are designed to drive and divert people away from them. As you know, the Safer Streets funding has been used to provide educational inputs and reopening of youth clubs as well to support various groups. And that will address ASB and other key issues. So, for instance, in Top Valley, we had the deliberate fires, which through some targeted work, it eradicated it all and stopped it immediately. We've already discussed at length throughout here our youth outreach provision and the work that the engagement hub does. The other thing that's not wasn't captured in the presentation was the youth IAG and the work that came through from their forum, from their end of year report, which I've shared with the command, and we're now looking at how do we interact better with them, how do we absorb and deal with some of the challenges that they've identified, one of which was ASB. You know, that feeling of being safe in the areas. ASB hotspot patrols, as you know, within the hub we've established ASB and problem solving officers, so we can start to drive that forward. And the What Works board were discussing ASB yesterday and some of the challenges linked to football and young emerging hooliganism at Notts County at Mansfield. So there's lots and lots of work going on. I think immediate justice with the ASB programme will be critical towards diverting people away and starting to try and use summary justice, if that's the right phrase. So I think there's an awful lot of work that is going on around this particular challenge.
Will any of the antisocial behaviour reach a level that would work with the RJ?
Yes.
Well?
Yeah, I believe it will.
Yeah.
So that we're going to have various discussions through the out-of-court disposals boards around sort of thresholds and where do we feel that various elements sit. But the probably the inconsistency with the phrase antisocial behaviour is antisocial behaviour I've seen has been used in everything. You know, it's even been used in knife carrying, serious disorder, elements of retail crime have been described as ASB. So it's about us pinning down what do we feel is ASB and starting to drill into those sort of that low level element, which and I speak about this quite a lot when I talk with people. That I remember offenders from when I started over 20 years ago who were very young, creating sort of local ASB challenges. Those people now, because they weren't dealt with, and we didn't have the mechanisms that we have now, by the way. But if they're not dealt with at the first point and supported and diverted and prevented from getting back into that arena, they're soon going to accelerate into an area of far greater harm. So it's important that we utilise all those products that we've discussed earlier.
Thank you. This question is from Peter, a councillor from Newark and Sherwood. What resources can be allocated to police traffic regulations, e.g., it's very specific here, a ban on traffic in pedestrian areas of Cartergate, Newark, a ban on no right turns into Hallerton Road in Westgate, Southwell, as these are often ignored and present a risk to pedestrians.
Okay, so there are some very sort of specific points, but I will just answer sort of more generally to start with, and then I'll move on to the specifics. As you know, road safety is a highly reported issue. In almost all of our neighbourhood areas, speeding is one of the local priorities. We've already talked about some of the work we're doing around community speed watch and what we're doing around that. Police, obviously, we have a role to play in that, but we also work with partners in relation to police traffic regulations. We work closely with local authority to ensure that we've maximised any structural improvements we can to try and prevent sorts, to design out any breaches. So specifically, the areas asked about were Cartergate. So the local neighbourhood team are aware of the concerns there. They've obviously been raised to them. And I know that the District Council are working with VIA in relation to the structural changes, and I think they're considering fixed bollards or camera monitoring. As from a policing perspective, we're aware that the problem has been recently exacerbated due to the disabled parking allocated on a stretch of road. So what we've made sure we've done, we've had some enforcement sessions in the last 3 months to try and make sure we're monitoring that. So we recognise there was a problem, but whilst that's being sorted out, we're trying to sort of mitigate any other factors that are causing concern. So we are doing work along that. We've been issuing warnings, publications via social media, and we will carry on doing that as we move forward. At Luton Road, the local neighbourhood team in Southall spend a lot of their time dealing with speeding, parking and other road-related incidents in this area, and we will continue to work with the local community to understand what the issues are, but also to raise awareness of what the actual regulations are that are in place, because I think sometimes there's not that understanding, so we need to make sure people are aware of what they need to do. So we're actually working there with the community around that particular issue.